Barcode was dropped off of Native White, and it's not what you think. What's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casting. I'm one of the HCS commentators, and we have another HCS weekly report where today we'll be talking all about Barcode and his journey coming to America. Right off the rip, we are going to start off with a little bit of sad news, and that's with Native Gaming explaining that they have to drop Native White. Says farewell, excuse me. Today we announced the release of Barcode from our Native White Halo team. Due to visa and travel issues, this decision was not one that we had much control over, nor was it an easy one to make. Native Gaming thanks Alex for all his hard work, dedication, and effort towards being a world-class competitor. So right off the rip, we see visa and travel issues, and obviously Native are no stranger to this. You know, Native Red have been having issues with trying to get Druk into the country to compete since the beginning of this year. Literally all of 2023 on land, we haven't seen Druk competing under the Native roster, and then they're dealing with the same or similar issues with Barcode. And once I saw this, I'm thinking, if Barcode gets dropped and it's for visa and travel issues, that tells me that, you know, this isn't going to be possible to rectify, and Barcode's going to end up going back to Australia, going back across the pond. That's what I thought at first. And then Barcode tweeted this. He told me there's a chance. So Barcode tweets this out: equally as shocked, but sometimes got to play the cards you're dealt. Unrestricted free agent for any North American teams. Will go into details in DMs. Bang my line, ayo. If you want someone that'll fucking dedicate their life to this spit. If not, back home I go. So Barcode saying there's a chance, and there might be a way to ultimately get him onto a North American team and have him compete alongside or here in the HCS in North America. Once we found out that Native White weren't able to come with their full starting roster, they literally had to compete with their coach Trade Try, which we'll talk about what happened then a little bit later. But ultimately that's kind of where this all started from, and literally just 2 days ago we're seeing that Barcode ultimately gets dropped off of that Native White roster. Now I'm not sure if this is more of like a joke, or this man just don't want to go home. Like, you know, my man said, haha, hey Europe, I've got my Serbian citizenship, teehee, a half joke but never know. So at this point, this man just don't want to go home at this point. Like, I'm willing to go to North America, Europe, like we'll start a, you know, Asian division. This man just don't want to go back to Australia. But honestly, like I feel like rightfully so. When you think about where the best competition in the world is, it's in North America right now, at least for Halo. In Europe, things are just starting to get better right now, but it's still not where it needs to be. So if you stay in ANZ, you're really handicapping your growth. Like, like in Halo, in order to get better, you have to play against the best. You have to scrim against them. You have to understand the meta. You have to be able to counter the meta. You have to be able to define the meta. If you don't understand what the best players in the world are doing, there's no chance that you're going to be able to succeed. It's just not going to happen. So where Australia is right now, where they've been since the beginning of time, I guess, they can't scrim against North America and it be a good situation for either one of the two. So they just never practice with each other. ANZ's only practicing against each other, and we've seen that time and time again. The pros say it, whether it's from ANZ and North America. Like, it's not just me saying it. They lack the practice, not the skill, but they lack the practice to take that next step. Europe is starting to get there a little bit, so maybe that's one of the reasons why he's open to going to a European team, which, by the way, he would add value to anybody. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's one of the reasons why he says, I just want to compete. He's such an amazing young talent. I think, 21 years old right now, and he has a bright future, and the last thing I want to see happen is him forcibly have to go back home to ANZ and not reach his full potential. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, we see Native's point of view saying because of visa and travel issues, they ultimately have to drop him. We see Barcode's, somewhat of his point of view saying that he'll go into details in the DMs and that there's still ultimately a chance that he'll compete. Now, let's hear from a little bit of an outside perspective. And that's going to be McWin. It's always McWinning, by the way. We love McWin. Obviously, the captain of Native White did a great deal to bring that roster together. And mind you, that same roster killed it back at Charlotte. These are right from McWin's words. Just for clarification on a lot of the stuff I'm saying, things has been relayed to me, but I'm not sitting in the meetings about this stuff. I did a ton of research on P1As, which, by the way, from what I understand, a P1A visa is specific to a visa for athletes. So wanted to compete for money, and I hear that's the proper way to actually go about going through this stuff, but it just takes so much time. Esports is already in a weird gray area. Visas are already slow to go out for any reason, from what I understand. And then when you add the two together at this time, it's just really, really tough. So he did a ton of research with P1As over the last 5 to 6 months. I was constantly worried I was going to lose my teammates to the border. LOL. So based off the hours of articles I've read and the things I know from behind the scenes, I also talked last weekend with a lot of international players and learned how they get in without issues. Some actually do have issues, but still ultimately get through. It seems like for esports players, they're just starting to clamp down a bit on these things, and there's not a clear consensus on the best way to do it outside of a P1A visa, but even that seems to be harder to obtain this year relative to the past. And with that being the case, we jumped in with the international players at just a horrible time to do so. So adding a little bit of context, I would say a lot of context to the situation, like we said before, it's just for whatever reason, it's already hard to get a visa. It's already hard on esports players. You put that together, and where we're at right now in late 2023, or moving on to late 2023, it's really hard for esports players right now, and we really hope it gets easier as gaming becomes more accepted by the masses, not just us who are gamers. Hopefully it really does get easier, but that's ultimately just where we're at right now. Some of you guys probably don't know Barcode too much. Like, mind you, we know that he came over from ANZ. We know that he was the best player there, but a lot of you guys are probably like, wow, this is a lot of hubbub for one player. What makes Barcode so valuable? So, I mean, right off the rip, you're seeing a lot of gold here. First place across the board. Like, I promise you, this team was not being challenged. When Barcode was over at ANZ, this team was not being challenged whatsoever. They actually, I guess I shouldn't say, excuse me, but they were, I should say, they were far the favorites going in. And there's a reason why. Barcode is a monster and was highly sought after, and that's one of the reasons why ultimately it was G2 that first brought him along. A struggling G2 was just starting to find their way a bit. The moment they brought in Barcode, he became a valuable piece right off the rip. The moment they brought in Barcode, they started to head up to an upward trend. It wasn't just the skill. It wasn't just the aggression that he brings to the map. He's always constantly putting on that pressure onto the opponents, and his movement, his shot is really, 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 really good, which is what makes him such a tough player to deal with, but also the vibes. When he came in, and he came in the right way, came in humble, came in ready to work. Didn't come and say, oh, I'm the number one player at ANZ, I'm going to run this squad, yada, yada, yada. Like, no, he came in ready to work ready to grind and willing to get better. And the vibes are always there. Whenever we go into a listen, whenever we listen to the squad, and then someone say, "Hey, let's get right back into it," like let's kind of bring them back to the game after like a tough loss. It was really Barcode coming in. I think that alone is valuable. Vibes are huge, especially when it comes to LAN plays. So the moment a Barcode came in, he was influenced both inside and outside of the locker room, both inside and outside the virtual battlefield. We see 2 top 6 finishes, North American Super, and then even going into the Orlando Major top 6, which was not bad at all for G2. Remember, G2 was really struggling early that year, going into Worlds, a little bit of a tougher route, top 12, but Worlds was tough. Everybody got better. Everybody, figured out the meta, and it was making constant roster change. That when they brought in, like, remember the FaZe God Squad that came in for a little bit. That was crazy. And then ultimately under Native Gaming, going into Charlotte, open bracket run, all the way through that open bracket, making it into top 4. Was one of the best runs that we have seen in HCS history. A team coming out of open bracket. I mean, obviously, I think Sentinels did it with Formal, with the whole Router 2 situation, but I don't really count that. Like, come on, it's Formal, it's Sentinels. Like, nah, a team that was heavily struggling leading into Charlotte, go into open bracket, grow within that open bracket, come out and do the damn thing, making it into pool play, showing off in pool play, and then making 4th place was amazing for Native White. And again, a large part of that is Barcode. So there's a reason why he's highly sought after. Then finally, you got to ask yourself, where does he go from here? Whatever these issues are, I whenever I think of issues when it comes to visas and stuff and whatnot, this is that and third, like maybe it's me being blind, but I just think money. I just think you have to be willing to put in a little bit of money in order to get what you want. So there's orgs that have money, Cloud9, Plexity, Shopify, G1. There's he mentioned EU, Navi struggling too. Imagine they come up with Barcode. That'd be crazy. Like, there's teams that are sitting outside the top 3 that are looking in, and if you want to give yourself the best opportunity possible to be competitive and or to stay competitive or to reach further than you have, you need to be taking a tough look at your locker room. You need to be taking a tough look at your roster and ask yourself, is Barcode worth the risk? And to be honest, 9 times out of 10, freaking is. So that's your HCS Weekly Report, guys. Really hope that Barcode finds a home. And in the comments down below, let me know where you want to see let me know where you want to see Barcode. You want to see him on FaZe? You want to see him on Optic? You want to see him on SSG? Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Barcode and ultimately where you want to see him. And don't forget to like, subscribe, notification bell turned on. Leave those comments. It's really good for the algorithm. It lets the YouTube know that you like my content, and then it pushes out to more people who may be interested in Halo esports content. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Love you all. And until next time.